Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before I get going, I wanted to tell you that today in my group I'm going to do something that people have been begging me to do. I've been getting emails, all kinds of stuff. In some of my videos I've mentioned that, I used to do all of the self-custody and all that stuff, and I know all about the not your keys, not your crypto, but we're entering the adult phase of crypto, and in the adult phase, the people with the real money and the people that have real money in crypto, that's not the route they're going to be going. And that doesn't mean that you can't. Many of you out there will do it that way, and you'll continue to do it that way, but not me. And I, from the time I got in this business, I have been paranoid about the storage of my crypto, and I have been paranoid about the idea that I didn't have a person I can talk to. Well, now I do. And what I'm going to do in the group today is I'm going to tell you all who that is. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten about who are you using for your institutional custody. And this applies to retail people, and you can do it too. So if you want to join the group, go to daixrp.com. If you want to join through the Patreon, you can click the join button below all of my YouTube videos if you'd prefer to join through YouTube. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to talk about why and where and who and how it works and all that stuff. And then we're going to talk about some other stuff too. I'll tell you what else we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell you, why was crypto created for the moment that we're in with this worldwide global trade war and all this? I'm going to spell it out for you. Okay. The markets, believe it or not, crypto's holding up pretty darn well. It's up a little bit. You got an XRP at $2. I love how XRP keeps holding around that $2 mark. Good stuff. This is Eleanor Tarrett's new show, and I wanted to play you this clip. They're reminiscing about old Gary Gensler, our old buddy.
There's another person that we left off the list, and that's Paul Atkins, who is about to become the next SEC chairman.
It's going to be great.
Congressman Emmer, yes. So you had some quite vocal moments at the House Financial Services hearings when it came to the oversight of the SEC and Gary Gensler over the last 4 years. Those were quite memorable. And Paul Atkins is going to be replacing Gary Gensler if he gets his vote through the Senate. You said he's going to be great. Can you elaborate? I mean, is Paul going to be everything that Gary wasn't?
Not a high bar. I was just going to say, Gary set a pretty low bar. I mean, think about this. We need stable coins. We need market structure. We need to have clarity and certainty in the system so investors, entrepreneurs can, take risk and innovate. And what was Gary Gensler doing? He was stopping all of that. He was telling people, my door is open. Bring any idea you got. We're happy to talk to you about it. Well, if you were naive enough to do that, he usually sued you, or he sent you a letter that you're under investigation afterward. One of the things that is really, really interesting is it seems like I listened to this at length yesterday, and I'm not a big fan of meme coins, so I'm not here to advocate for them at all. But I heard a lot of complaints about meme coins yesterday during the hearing, about people taking advantage of meme coins and allegedly misleading, and making money off of them. You realize Gary Gensler is the one that said, this is what we could use meme coins for. He's the one that actually empowered the creation of meme coins the way we see it right now. He's the one who made it okay. So if you don't like it, I agree with you. Stop complaining about it, and let's figure out how we can put some guardrails on.
Yep, I think you're going to see a flip of the script with regulations from all the garbage stuff. I think this is when you're going to see that the 99% go away. So check this out. speaking of Gary Gensler, Ripple Labs and U.S. Securities Exchange Commission have jointly requested a pause in their respective appeals to finalize a potential settlement. So the next thing that's coming is the vote. And now Paul Atkinson is in, and he can take credit for the settlement of the Ripple case. Timing's everything, right? Trump just signed the first ever crypto bill officially repealing DeFi crypto broker rules, safeguarding privacy, and ending more Biden-era needless crypto scrutiny. And then here's Charles Hoskinson telling you what's coming.
What people fail to understand is within 60 days to 90 days, the United States is probably going to pass a stablecoin bill. And by August to September, we're probably going to pass a market structure bill. These aren't abstract concepts and ideas. These are the barriers that once removed mean that Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Apple, and others enter the cryptocurrency space. And tell me, who owns their platforms? They do. That's 3 billion users. So if those barriers are removed, how do we as an industry compete against the wallet that Apple builds and bundles with the iPhone?
Big money coming. And don't forget about X Money, the X platform. Look at this. I like this from Subjective Views. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. You know, like Bitcoin's immaculate conception.
Let's talk about the strategic Bitcoin Reserve executive order, because I think this outlines, pretty much what our thinking was here. And, first and foremost, we view Bitcoin as being unique. It's a commodity, not a security. It has the immaculate conception, as David likes to say, meaning that there is no issuer, and it has intrinsic stored value, right? So we look at these things and say, okay, we want to recognize it for what it is, which is being different. But we also want to recognize what's happening in a lot of these other ecosystems in this space, because it's also fantastic. And so we had this strategic Bitcoin Reserve, we had the digital assets national stockpile, giving credence to everything else going on, but also making sure that we separate Bitcoin because it is very different. We view Bitcoin as digital gold, and I've been, very clear about that. And so the question I get asked, by a lot of journalists is, well, how much Bitcoin do you want? I'm like, well, that's like asking us, how much gold do we want? We want as much as we can get as a country, so long as we acquire it in budget neutral ways that don't cost the taxpayer.
I just don't know. I hope Tony, thinking from crypto, is listening, because you want to get some killer views on one of these interviews, ask them about the elephant in the room, the 4 Satoshis video. I mean, that is the ultimate question. That's how you know that at a minimum Bitcoin was either created by the government or it was co-opted by the government. It's one or the other. The fact that nobody will even talk about this tells you that. It screams it. And I tell you, I believe 99% of crypto was either created or contracted or co-opted by the government, because I think it's to save the U.S. dollar. Now, I don't agree with Anthony Pompliano on everything. I actually personally believe he's a part of the Bitcoin PSYOP. He was military intelligence, quote, ex-military intelligence. But I don't agree with him selling Bitcoin pizza boxes, but I do agree with what he says here about the stock market. And he says Bitcoin, but it's the crypto market.
Stocks are going down because people are fearful, right? You see the extreme fear and greed gauges, all that kind of stuff. So if that's the case, there's one X factor in all of this. I don't know if it'll happen, but what the administration is saying, and I'm just listening to what they're saying because that's their plan. They claim that they are going to give the largest tax cut in history to people who make $150,000 or less. Not to billionaires and rich people. Like, by the way, Trump's been horrible for billionaires. I think they lost in the last 3 days. They lost like $500 billion, right? Yeah. Or collectively $7 trillion since he came into office, $500 billion just in the last 3 days. So like the whole idea of like, hey, everyone's getting rich, the exact opposite's happening. Like they actually are pretty pissed at him. But I had never heard a politician say, I want to give a tax cut to 150,000 or less. Now they're claiming that they're going to try to get federal income tax level to 0. Again, feels like shock and awe. And then maybe they can give some sort of tax cut. So if you can go from, call it, 30-ish% depending on the different income levels, and you can get down to 20%. Imagine if you could cut 1/3 of the federal income tax bill for every single American, which is like 80% of Americans or something make $150,000 or less. Put more money into their pockets, right? Like that would be incredible. And so if you look at this and you say, okay, the stock market is coming down, yes, but I personally believe we will have stock all-time highs and Bitcoin all-time highs before the end of 2025.
I do too.
Wow.
And so people are like fearful, but guess what's going to happen? The Fed has to cut. I'm not predicting that they're going to do an emergency rate cut, but I think the odds of an emergency rate cut have significantly increased over the last 4 days.
I think it's going to happen for that reason. Also, the reason I'm going to tell you later in this video. So China's rate. So we're officially in a tit for tat with China. They've raised tariffs imposed on the United States. They've raised them to 125%. But look what's happening with our old buddy gold. This is not a drill. Gold goes vertical. So it set another record. Is gold confiscation and revaluation on the table? And I said crypto was created for this moment. This is Lynette Zhang, who's very smart. She's going to be at XRP Las Vegas. She was there last year too. Go to xrplasvegas.com to get your tickets. Watch this.
The biggest one was the overt confiscation. And I don't really think that it's a coincidence that, what did you have? You had a market crash, you had the tariffs put in place, and after that, you had the gold confiscation. Sound money gold was confiscated from the public in 1933. In 1934, there was a 69% overnight revaluation of dollars to gold. Good thing Treasury Secretary Wooten and others in the know could continue to hold and accumulate tangible pre-33 gold coins. But what did the public have to protect their wealth when they took all the gold away? Nothing. And that's where we are right now. We have nothing to protect our wealth except we can position back into physical gold and silver. So those in the know continue to hold and actually accumulate pre-33 gold coins. But others flew to gold mining stocks, which seriously outperformed the Dow, but it was frankly the only way to buy gold back then. And I think it's very interesting that in 1932, there was a rapid rise in gold mining stocks before the 1933 confiscation. Interesting. Do you think that that was just a coincidence? Or did those in the know get into position ahead of the 1933 gold confiscation? We're never really going to know the answer to that. It's just a thought. But I see this kind of behavior over and over and over again. That's why understanding the patterns are so critically important, because it gives us, the public, a heads up to what's the next most likely outcome. We don't have to wait until it's too late to do anything. So how are the 2025 President Trump tariffs different than the 1930 Smoot-Hawley tariffs? And what do the patterns tell us to do? Frankly, they want us to think this time is different. Time will tell if that's true. But there do seem to be so many parallels right up front. Yet there is one key difference. 1913 through 1933 was the beginning of this paper money fiat system.
And what's at the beginning of now? Crypto. I think this time is different.
Moving the public from directly holding sound money with a tool to take power back. Because if you did not like what the government or the central banks were doing, you could walk in with one, either a gold certificate or a Federal Reserve note, and walk out with the gold, creating the restriction. But the reality is gold.
What are you about to be able to walk out with? Crypto? These banks are about to start offering crypto.
Is above all central banks and governments because it cannot be inflated away. There's thousands of years of history that prove that, and that's just because it has the broadest base of functionality and the broadest base of demand.
Okay, so we're going to go into DAIXRP.com. If you want to join the Patreon, click the join button below this YouTube video. If you'd prefer to join through YouTube, you get the extended videos and you get no commercials. But today, here's what you get. We're gonna follow the money. I'm gonna show you why crypto was created for this exact moment, and I'm gonna show you how that liquidity is gonna come into the crypto market, and then I'm gonna tell you about my worries are finally over as far as my crypto holdings and what I can do. I now have institutional custody, and I have a person I can talk to, and I'm going to tell you who that is and all the things I did before opening an account. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family, away we go.